Hey Rockstars, I'm JB, expert salesperson and master presenter.
I'm the doctor, psychologist, and behavioral expert.
This is the Entrepreneur Mastery Lab podcast.
We're high-performance coaches that help service-based professionals and entrepreneurs take their skills to the next level.
70% of entrepreneurs fail, which is why every week we have real talk with real entrepreneurs to help ensure you are not one of them.
We're also the inventors of the Be Rich mindset,
where we rise to mastery,
inspire greatness,
celebrate knowledge,
and help others along the way.
So join us in the lab.
And now, on to the show.
Welcome back to the lab, Rockstars. I'm JB.
I'm the doctor.
We are so freaking pumped right now.
Woo-hoo.
Do you know what day it is?
It is the day after yesterday.
Gosh, you kill me sometimes, man.
Is that wrong? I know that to be right.
You're going to open up our 1 year anniversary with that joke.
Of course, it's on brand.
For you. Oh, my gosh. 1 year, 52 freaking episodes filmed right here and recorded right here. You don't know where this is, but this background, that background.
In our secret lab.
52 times. What a change this year has been, man. What a journey.
It's been a year.
That's a better joke. That one I can run with that one, dude. It's been a year.
I have to warm you up a little bit.
Oh, Lord. I find this hard to believe. You know, we started this podcast out with like all the strength and conviction and belief that you could muster about what it was going to be and what it was going to grow to and how it was going to work. And yeah, it's been a year.
It has. It's been a learning experience, I would say. I definitely learned quite a few things about us, technology, and how technology likes to mess with you.
I'd like to say I learned a lot about our guests.
Yes, we had them too.
And our listeners.
We had some of them also.
But technology's been interesting. We've had some good and some bad with the technology, right? And nowadays, you might actually be seeing some of this recorded on video too, because we've always had that, but we never did it early on.
Got to keep you on your toes. Can't give you too much of our wonderfulness at once. We have to slowly get you ready for us.
You're not taking them to bed, bro.
Got to seal the deal, baby.
Are you? What's in your mind been the biggest change you've seen from when we started to where we're at today in the podcast, Doc? If you had to sum it up.
Knowing what the heck we're doing. I think we've gotten the hang of it, of hitting the record button when we're supposed to hit record and making sure our audio and our stuff works well. It's just, if you've been following us from the beginning and you heard some of the first few episodes and the flow that we've not stepping on each other's toes and getting to know what we're supposed to do and taking cues and a lot of that, just little stuff that you guys might not even see as much, but you probably can hear the difference over time. That's been what I've taken away. It's just been that growth of experience.
So you're talking the pre-flight checklist and just the practice of rapping together every week for a year.
Yeah, I think we've worked together for a while, but you get to know each other a little differently too through the podcast. And I think also just getting looser with it, right? That we've gotten more comfortable in the setting for the first few episodes of, I think we knew it. The content, we know the content there's nothing new about that for us. We know our content. We know what we're talking about. It's just a way to deliver it and to do it more professional each time, and professional as we'll ever get on this podcast.
There you go. That's maybe the better way to say that. Yeah, dude, it's our guest a little ways back, Jonathan Garber, said it's a production, right? Everything we do is a production. So the whole production quality has really improved big time from the get-go. I will say part of me does miss our fun introduction that we used to have at the beginning. It didn't say anything, but it was fun. So, a little bit more just fucking crazy. I guess not too crazy, but a
little different, right? Yeah.
Maybe we can bring it back for Halloween, our Halloween episode every year. You can just bring that audio back. That'd be fun.
That would be a good one. I'd actually jot a note down because by Halloween I won't remember.
Yeah. biggest change. I mean, I think hands down the format and the structure. We went early on from just trying to educate, which was cool and all. But you know, we didn't have guests, we didn't have interviews, we didn't really try to bring in other people's perspective and their stories. And now you listen into our podcast, and a whole lot of what we're doing is, where are you from? Who are you? What's come from your background and is now instrumental in who you are as a professional and or a business owner. And the stories we've heard, the wisdom we've seen people really put out there when we're interviewing them. And, you know, honestly, just the recognition and understanding that no matter what your background is, you've got something that's going to strongly influence how you serve your clients. And it's really pretty cool to hear those stories. So going from not doing that at all to really putting an emphasis on that, to me, has been the biggest change.
And it was a great experience too. We've heard some great stories, and obviously, you know, some of the guests we knew personally, especially as you first started, because that's how you reach out to people that you know, and you bring them on. Because it's also people that we trust and work with. So we have that safety factor that we know that we're going to put people in front of you that we would work with too. But even doing that and getting to hear some of their stories that we might not have known, I think I definitely have learned something new about each person that we've interviewed, even people I've known 20 plus years.
Do you have any favorite episodes, Doc? Anything that stood out to you, top one or two in your mind? Not necessarily the most popular by download, but just what you really enjoyed conversation-wise?
All my children are loved equally.
Anybody listening, this is the trouble of working with a psychologist and therapist as a business partner and a podcast partner. You can never get a straight answer out of them. All they do is listen. He's really good at that.
I am.
I have favorites.
So I could say some of the episodes you can take that I don't get to speak as much. I think that is something you just brought up unknowingly. So yeah, I think that's something I definitely get good listening out of this. I mean, I have some good moments from different episodes, I think, that stand out to me.
So throw it out there, man. Come on, give us something.
I will, but I'm not going to say favorites because I don't have a favorite per se person or episode or interview. But there's different pieces that stick out, like obviously like when Susan Block talking about her story and how that really, you know, the emotion that came from it, and the feedback that we talked to her after, and how the people that she's worked with, how she said that's even touched them that knew her and didn't know the whole story. Talking to Blake about his journey and some of the things that he went through in his book and how that kind of came across. And then just learning some new people that I have met and just hearing some of their stories and how they came about and how they got started. It's really interesting just to hear some of those journeys because they're not traditional in a lot of ways.
I remember the Susan Block interview pretty clearly because I stumbled into something I don't know that I expected to stumble into, right? You know, that was okay.
I did have a cringe pause moment, yes.
And something our listeners might not know that we do before every interview is just ask right up ahead of time, is anything off limits? Is there anything we should know to not bring up? Is there anything that you're going to be sensitive to or just, you know, is going to hit a nerve? And we ask those questions. And, you know, to Susan's credit, it wasn't something that she was unwilling to talk about by any means. She was totally comfortable, it seemed, to get vulnerable and really share a really intimate experience and a really life-altering experience with us. And yeah, as somebody who interviews and kind of runs the format, I guess, of the podcast, it was really a little shocking to hear, but I'm so glad you shared it because what great lessons we were able to take from it. So Susan's was absolutely unique. I love Blake's. You talk favorites. I don't know what it is about Blake's story and his experience and what he's helped work people through. But I felt like our interview with Blake was just very authentic and very raw. and really didn't try to hold back any punches.
So you're just gonna,
and I appreciated that.
you're just gonna copy me the whole episode. Is that what we're doing here?
Yeah. Well, this is the first time you get to speak first. So just because I agree with you.
Sorry. And I also heard there, for future podcast guests, you might want to keep in mind, if JB asks you, is there's anything that you don't want to talk about or anything that off limits, you better think deeply, because he's going to find a place that I don't think anyone was expecting to go, or would have to say, hey, this is off limits, talk about that, because it didn't expect to come up as a question. So think deep, future guests.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm gonna circle back here and just wrap up with one of my favorite conversations was Nicole Golemi talking about service and giving back and community. We believe so strongly in community as a business. That's why we have the Entrepreneur Mastery Lab, not just a podcast, but our private exclusive free Facebook group that you're welcome to join if you're listening in, and we'd love to have you.
Home of the Be Rich mindset.
That's right. I like that. That was well done. But that was a great conversation. You talking about how the grassroots community movement, the giving back to charity is in direct alignment with everything we're trying to do as business owners and service professionals and business development. So I did really enjoy that conversation. And I think that was a pretty popular one as well. So that kind of went hand in hand. So it's nice to see.
Yes, Nicole is awesome. And I think the same thing over a year, right? As I scrolled through, looking occasionally at some of the past episodes, it just reminds me of different things. And I'm like, oh, I forgot about that because it was, 9 months ago. Or I forgot specific pieces of it. And sometimes I go back and listen to some of the older ones too, just to kind of get some reference points. And, or I meet somebody who's earlier on the journey of going through the podcast. So they're going back through some of the older episodes, and they'll tell me a story, and I'll have to sit there and think about it for a second. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this and that. And, so it's been great just connecting with the people that listen also, and getting some of their feedback and insight on their favorites and their favorite moments. And it's so unique on what people take away as what they like and what they don't like. And it's definitely not always on what we think is the same, or what we think hit really well or went over really well. It's not always in alignment with what we're assuming is going to be the best.
Do you, what do you picture, Doc? So we're 12 months in, we're moving on to season 2. We're definitely in a different place maybe than where we imagine. I'm not sure I could have ever even imagined we'd be where we are quite at this moment. What do you envision for us going forward? Like, if you could look forward into season 2 or even the end of season 2, what kind of transformations do you expect in what we're doing?
Well, my goal for the next year is to get you to say something so ridiculous that it's going to go viral, and then I can, sell that on the internet and become an influencer and get a private jet and fly away.
Have you figured out how to hit the record button without us seeing it? Because that's the trick. I'm telling you, all our gold, all the best stuff, none of y'all get to hear. It always comes before we hit record. It's unbelievable. I've never seen. Maybe that's been the biggest shock of the last season is how much we miss because we don't hit record right away. I feel like we should just hit record right away and just say we're going to cut out that stuff and save it, because it's freaking gold.
Yeah, we definitely had some of those moments where we'll hear a good story and we're like, all right, this will be great. They'll definitely bring that up. And yeah, nope. So it's been an interesting thing. Yes, definitely some of the behind the scenes before the begin stuff has been classic stuff. And talk about technology stuff. The times that I forget to hit record, or we stop recording, or sometimes our system decides it wants to stop recording in the middle of things and we don't know about it. So there's that. It's been fun too.
You still haven't answered my question.
I thought I did.
Not really.
What I'm excited about is we have a lot of guests coming up. Like I said earlier, when we first started bringing on guests, there's a lot of people we knew and had some reference points to, because, you call in the favors to get people on the guests as you're getting started. Not saying that they were an amazing guest, they all were, but we're branching out. And as this has come on, we've got a little bit of a following and starting to reach out to more and more people throughout not only the country, but throughout the world. And I'm excited about the kind of guests that we're going to be bringing in the next year to the lab to share their stories and even reach out and continue to grow that community.
It is exciting. And if there's a couple things I expect to see develop in the podcast over the next 12 months, I think moving international and exposing ourselves to international markets and business owners and professionals is going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. I'm really looking forward to some of those conversations.
He means exposing himself, like as a business, hopefully.
I am trying to give you told me your goal was for me to say something to get myself to go viral. And here I am in the middle of it, in the middle of exposing myself on the podcast. And there you go. And you're just cutting in. Now you choose to speak. All these podcasts, you don't say a word. Now you're going to speak.
I want to make sure we cover up anything that you're exposing.
All right. Yeah. Moving international, getting that exposure, really developing those markets is going to be fun. And I think getting a little better, Doc, at helping our guests promote themselves. Yeah, I envision a platform where we can really offer a tremendous amount of opportunity to our future guests and making sure that we're helping them take advantage of that the best way possible is probably, when you think about our constituents and who we really serve with this podcast, it's our listeners first and foremost, right? It's whomever's listening. If you're listening to this right now, you are number one. It's all about you. But it's also about our guests, right? What about our guests can we do to serve them? And part of it's putting them in front of you as our listeners and allowing them to share their stories with you, but also giving them the opportunity to make the most of that is something that I think we have a lot of room to grow in, and I'm looking forward to developing it. So both the international market and really just making this a one-stop shop for a great service for our listeners and our guests is just something I'm really excited to see.
And I'd much rather our guests exposing themselves than you. So yes, I agree with you, everything you said.
All right. I'll let them all know that.
Along that way too.
Are you going to be offended by the doc having you expose yourself? I don't know. Tell us up front. Be honest.
Yeah, we definitely need to reword that one. I think, talking about some of the things that have changed, which have been fun, the natural evolution of the podcast. Some of you that have been with us might have noticed a name change at some point along the way. Because I think that's what we do. You learn how to put things together and make it a little bit more flow and more functionality. And while mastery with science is something that we still believe in, it's the core concept of what we do. It is our namesake, right? Creating the lab, the Facebook group.
It's our progeny. It's our namesake.
It is. It's
from our loins.
Pretty much. As much. I just felt that way.
I'm fucking falling over here. You got me laughing now.
It was almost painful as birth, giving birth. I was told. But yeah, just that evolution has been interesting too, and trying to make things more concise and easy to find, right? Like those are just the changes that we make throughout the year that really are fun. The new opening, when we were recording the new opening and what we were going to do with that as opposed to our Monster Mash entrance. And just needing something fresh, right? And like trying to change it up a little bit to keep the engagement exciting. That was fun, I think. Maybe not in the moments as much as we thought of, but looking back through all that has been fun. It's
cathartic looking back over 12 months and kind of seeing the development and the change. And again, this got brought up recently. We bring it up really all the time. I mean, this is like beating a dead horse at this point, but the ability to adapt and pivot. And well, if you're going to beat a horse, make it a dead horse. So, I mean, choices.
That's true. I'll give you that.
Right. It's cool. It's cool to see the journey, and it's cool to see the development, and to be able to pivot and adapt is really the most essential. So, I guess I will also look forward to continuing to get listener feedback. What do you like? And as we move towards kind of almost a video cast, not just a podcast, what the experience is going to be for us and our listeners. I guess time will tell. but exposing yourself would be a lot more dramatic if it's a video podcast.
Yes. Then I wonder if we'd get kicked off YouTube.
Mm,
Are there rules on that? I don't know.
I mean,
We could start our OnlyFans. I hear there's good money in that.
there are true crime podcasts out, so we've got a home somewhere that comes to it.
And over the next year, there's a lot of things internally that are going to be growing through the business, which will be exciting to highlight on the podcast. Because first and foremost, for us, JBandTheDoctor is our day-to-day business, right? We do this to help people out and improve their sales and positioning and time management and productivity. And we have a lot of exciting stuff coming out in the next year that this is a great space that we get to expose you all to that.
It's going to be our theme of the week, huh? Exposure.
I hope for our listeners that it's not our theme for the year.
Either that or we're going to have a new demographic listening in for sure. Application wise, if I'm putting myself in my listeners' ear pods or whatever it happens to be, and I'm thinking, what kind of insight can I take from the experience you and I have had this last year? It's just that you need to constantly be evolving on your platform and putting out really valuable content. And I feel like our podcast has proven without a doubt that we accomplish both the ability to adapt and evolve, as well as the framework of really providing some fucking kick-ass content, man. It's just been some great shit we put out there over the last year. Really pretty proud of what we put out. Yeah,
I think, that's what I said in the beginning with all the learning curves and everything we've done technology-wise. And this is where I encourage anyone who's listening. If you guys think about things you want to get started and you just paralyze yourself with not knowing if you know what to do, it's okay. We didn't know what to do. But what we did know is what we know. And that is our messaging. That is the information that we're sharing. That we have no doubt we know that stuff. So that makes it easy. So if you know what you know, the other stuff will fall into place. You'll figure it out.
Profound stuff. Know what you know. Self-awareness. We talk about that too.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Hey, Doc, you got something there to toast with? Can we do a little toasty toast?
Drink some.
I got some sexy hot tea.
Some water on the rocks.
Let's do it. To 1 year, brother.
Also, it has been a journey. I would be remiss if we don't thank some people along the way that we would probably not be here. And first and foremost, all our amazing guests that have joined us and put content out there for you. We want to thank each and every one of you. Our listeners, we would not be a podcast that had people listening to it if we didn't have listeners.
Again, profound. I just want to know, when did we move to an acceptance speech? Don't make me cue the music to pull you off.
And then another person that this podcast would definitely not be out in your ears right now without is our amazing VA, Annabelle. She is the real glue behind all of this. We hand her a mess and then she makes it sound very well and presentable and professional and all those wonderful things. And we would not be anywhere without her.
Yeah. I suppose it's appropriate to say thank you, Annabelle. Thank you to our listeners. And yes, thank you, Doc. I don't suppose I could do it without you.
I agree. It would be a weird show called JBandTheDoctor if one of us were not on it.
Just call it JB and ... cliffhanger.
There has been some episodes that have felt that way.
We've worked past those issues.
It's all part of the growth.
All right. For any of our listeners who have been a year with us, you rock.
Surrounded by rock stars.
Thank y'all.
And we know it sounds like a year and being very serious for a few seconds here, but this is not really just a thing. It's just a celebration of a year anniversary, right? We're not going anywhere. We will be back in your ears next week with some new exciting guests and some new exciting features and some new exciting things. And how many more times can I say exciting?
I don't know, but do you really think that I'm going freaking anywhere? I'm not going anywhere. This is a freaking celebration. We're fucking rock stars doing this for a year. We're going to toot our own horns for 30 seconds.
And then we're going to drink some bourbon.
I'm done, by the way. Yes. Who would like to join us for some bourbon to celebrate our 1-year anniversary? You're all invited. All of you wonderful people.
BYOB. It's a lot of people out there. I'm not supplying bourbon for all of them.
What a letdown. Fair enough. But seriously, a real celebration here. Super exciting. Look at me. I mean, I'm picking up my mic for the first time ever. This is a new show. This is a new year, new you, new. I'm out, man. That's all I got here. It's been fun.
I feel like someone started drinking the bourbon earlier and just didn't tell me.
Scotch. Let's do it.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for spending this year with us. We're excited to hop on next week and start the new year fresh, which sounds very weird to say in the middle of August. But that is what it is. There is one interesting thing that I will say as a parting note, that August is the only month without a national holiday that I know of, except for my birthday and now our anniversary of our podcast. So those are the 2 new national holidays. One of them we can celebrate, and that would be the yearly podcast anniversary. So you get to take the day off work. Just tell your bosses, or you tell yourselves, because you're mostly your own bosses.
You know, you accuse me of talking a lot, but I've been sitting here for like 5 minutes thinking, when are we going to wrap this up? And you just got something new to bring up every time. It's kind of nice to hear you spread your wings. Fly, baby doc, fly.
Hear you spread your wings. All right. On that note, we shall wrap.
I'm JB. Out until next season, folks. Saw you later.
I'm the doctor. Peace out, yo.